In a world where gods bleed and heroes die on camera, where teenage boys carry the weight of extinction on their shoulders and fathers lie with smiles that could split planets, one man arrived asking the wrong question. Not, can I save this world, but can this world save mine? His name was Jin-Woo. He wore a black coat that moved like smoke. His eyes held the gray stillness of a graveyard at dawn. And when he stepped through the rift above Washington, D.C., 10 million shadows stepped with him. The guardians of the globe were already dying. Jin-Woo watched from a rooftop 3 blocks away, invisible in the space between streetlights and midnight. His senses, honed through 1,000 dungeon raids and wars against monarchs, had caught the energy signature the moment he crossed dimension. Something was wrong in that underground chamber. Something was screaming. The dimensional fabric here tasted like home, like the chaotic mana that had poisoned his mother's channels, like the rift energy that was slowly killing his sister Jinna even now, even as Seoul's best doctors shook their heads and said, "We don't understand it." He'd come here hunting answers, hunting a cure hidden in a universe that somehow survived constant dimensional invasions without collapsing. But the screaming pulled him toward the Guardian's headquarters like a fish hook through his chest. He arrived 60 seconds too late. The entrance was a crater. The halls were painted in red. Jin-Woo moved through the carnage with the steady pace of a man who'd walked through worse, though his jaw tightened at the waste of it. Aquarius, skull caved in against a wall. Red Rush, spine twisted like a barber pole. Darkwing, embedded in the ceiling with his own weapons. These weren't battle casualties. This was an execution dressed as a tragedy. The dimensional energy was wrong too. Not invasion energy, not portal bleed. This was impact trauma on a monarch-level scale, but localized, controlled, intentional. Someone with absolute power had taken their time. Jin-Woo found Omni-Man in the center of the room, cradling War Woman's body, his white suit soaked in blood that wasn't his. The man's face was a mask of grief so perfect it would have fooled anyone who hadn't spent 2 years pretending to be weak while hunting demons in human skin. Jin-Woo said nothing. He'd learned in the lower floors of the demon castle that monsters always revealed themselves if you stayed quiet long enough. "I couldn't save them," Omni-Man said, his voice breaking in exactly the right places. "I was too late. I failed them." Jin-Woo turned away and walked toward the surface. Behind him, he heard Omni-Man's breath catch. Surprised that someone had simply left, that someone hadn't offered comfort or questions. Good. Let him wonder. Jin-Woo had bigger problems than one powerful liar. He had a sister whose texts were getting shorter, whose voice on their calls was getting weaker, whose doctors were now using words like unprecedented cellular decay and "we're sorry." He emerged into chaos. News helicopters circled like carrion birds. GDA agents were setting up perimeters. And on a nearby street, a woman was screaming. Debbie Grayson, her car crushed by debris from the battle above, her leg pinned, her phone showing 17 missed calls from Mark. Jin-Woo measured the angles, measured the energy cost, measured the risk of exposure against the simple fact that his own mother had once been trapped under rubble while he was too weak to save her. He raised one hand. "Arise." The shadows came like spilled ink, formless and hungry, and for a moment Debbie Grayson stopped screaming because she'd found something worse than death to look at. Then the shadows solidified. Black armored soldiers, ant-shaped but human-sized, their bodies radiating cold purpose. They lifted the debris as if it weighed nothing. One of them cradled Debbie with a gentleness that contradicted its monstrous form, setting her down on undamaged pavement as paramedics came running. Jin-Woo was gone before they could thank him, before they could ask questions, before the GDA drones could get a clean image of his face. He had work to do. 3 Flaxen portal signatures were building resonance across the city. The sensors he'd crafted from Shadow and stolen Earth technology were already screaming warnings into his mind. The rifts here were different from home. More stable. More controlled. Someone had learned to weaponize dimensional travel without tearing reality apart. If he could understand how, if he could steal that knowledge, maybe Jinnah had a chance. He found the first portal opening in a warehouse district. Flaxen shock troops poured through, purple-skinned, 4-armed, carrying weapons that bent light. They saw him standing alone and laughed in their chittering language. They stopped laughing when the warehouse's shadows came alive, when every dark corner birthed soldiers. When Jin-Woo walked through their army like a man wading through wheat, his daggers finding throats with the efficiency of a system he no longer needed. The fight lasted 90 seconds. Jin-Woo spent the next hour examining the portal technology, his shadows holding the rift open by force while he measured its dimensional frequency against the signature in his sister's medical scans. Similar, not identical, but close enough to matter. Close enough to hope. "What the hell are you?" The voice came from above. Jin-Woo looked up to find a teenage boy in a homemade yellow suit, floating on sheer willpower and terrible inexperience. Mark Grayson, Invincible. Son of the man who'd murdered his team and blamed the corpses for dying. The boy's fists were clenched. His eyes were red from crying. He was 17 and he'd just lost everyone. Jin-Woo remembered being 17, remembered his father's funeral, remembered carrying his mother through hospital doors because he couldn't afford an ambulance. Remembered Jinnah's hand in his as doctors explained that some diseases don't care how hard you fight. "I'm someone looking for a cure," Jin-Woo said. "You're someone who just saved his mother without knowing it." Mark's expression shifted. Confusion, then recognition. "That was you? The shadows? My mom said something pulled her out, but the GDA thinks she was hallucinating from shock. She wasn't." Jin-Woo closed his hand, and the Flaxen portal collapsed with a sound like reality sighing. His shadows dissolved into mist, returning to the space between heartbeats where they lived. "I need information. Your planet survives dimensional invasions that should have shredded your reality 5 times over. I need to know how." "Why?" Mark dropped to the ground, landing with a crater, still learning to control his strength. Still learning that power doesn't mean protection. "Why do you care about Earth?" Jin-Woo pulled out his phone, showed Mark the photo he kept as his lock screen. Jinnah smiling at her high school graduation, their mother beside her, both of them proud of the brother who'd gone from the weakest hunter alive to something the association whispered about. Both of them unaware that the rifts were widening, that the dimensional bleed was in Jinnah's bloodstream, that Jin-Woo had exactly 4 months before the doctors stopped giving timelines. "Because if your world dies, mine dies too," Jin-Woo said. "And I've already lost enough family." Mark stared at the photo, at Jinnah's smile, at the desperate love in Jin-Woo's eyes that no amount of power could hide. The boy's fists unclenched, his shoulders dropped. He recognized the look. He wore it every time he came home covered in blood, and his mother pretended not to notice. "Okay," Mark said quietly. "Okay, I'll help you. But the GDA's going to want answers. They're going to want to know what you are, why you're here, if you're a threat." "I am a threat," Jin-Woo interrupted, "to anything that tries to stop me from saving my sister. Make sure your people understand that." Above them, news helicopters were circling. Below them, GDA containment teams were mobilizing. And somewhere in Seoul, Jin-Ah was probably awake, probably texting him again. "Papa, when are you coming home? I miss you." Jin-Woo looked at Mark Grayson and saw himself, saw the weight, saw the fear hidden behind strength, saw a boy who'd do anything to protect his mother, just like Jin-Woo would do anything to protect his sister. "Your father killed his team," Jin-Woo said. "Not a question, a statement. I could smell the lie on him." Mark's face went white. "What? No. My dad's a hero. He'd never—" "I've met 1,000 heroes," Jin-Woo said, walking toward the shadows between buildings, his coat trailing darkness. "Most of them were monsters with good publicity. Watch him closely, Mark Grayson. And when he shows you what he really is, remember, you're not alone." He vanished into the dark, leaving Mark standing in a crater full of alien corpses, holding questions he couldn't answer and suspicions he didn't want to believe. In Seoul, Jin-Ah's phone buzzed. A text from her brother. "I found something. Don't give up yet." In Washington, D.C., Omni-Man watched news footage of shadows devouring an alien army and smiled a smile that had nothing to do with Earth's survival. The Viltrumite Empire was listening, and they just found something interesting. If you love deep-dive crossovers that respect both worlds, smash subscribe and comment your dream matchup: Goku in The Boys, Doomslayer in Mass Effect. We're building the multiverse, one story at a time. The Global Defense Agency's interrogation room smelled like recycled air and institutional paranoia. Jin-Woo sat across from director Cecil Stedman, a man whose eye patch somehow made him look more dangerous than the teleporter standing behind him with a hand on a pistol that definitely wasn't loaded with normal bullets. On the table between them sat a holographic display showing Jin-Woo's shadow soldiers tearing through flaxen invaders with the efficiency of a factory processing meat. "So you're telling me," Cecil said, his voice carrying the exhausted patience of a man who dealt with Omni-Man's bullshit for 20 years, "that you're from another dimension, your sister is dying from something called mana corruption, and you think our alien invasions hold the cure?" "Not the invasions," Jin-Woo corrected. "Your dimensional stabilization. Every portal that opens here should cascade into reality collapse. They don't. Something is anchoring this universe against rift degradation. I need to know what." Cecil leaned back, his organic eye studying Jin-Woo with the focus of a man calculating threat levels. "And if we don't help you, then I take what I need and leave you to fight the Viltrumites alone." The temperature in the room dropped. The teleporter's hand tightened on his weapon. Cecil's expression didn't change, but his finger tapped the table twice. Some kind of signal Jin-Woo's instincts catalogued as dangerous. "You know about the Viltrumites," Cecil said flatly. "I know Omni-Man murdered his team. I know he's waiting for something. I know you suspect it, but can't prove it because he's the only thing standing between Earth and a dozen extinction-level threats. Jin-Woo pulled out a data crystal he'd fabricated from compressed shadow and flaxen tech, setting it on the table. That contains everything I extracted from the flaxen portal network. Dimensional coordinates, invasion schedules, weak points in their time dilation technology. Consider it a down payment. Cecil picked up the crystal, held it to the light, then pocketed it with the casual grace of a man who'd made deals with demons before breakfast. What do you want in return? Access to every dimensional incident in your records. Every portal, every rift, every unexplained energy signature. And when the Viltrumites come, you point me at them. You think you can fight a Viltrumite? Jin-Woo thought about Antares, the monarch of destruction, a being who'd shattered mountains with his presence. Thought about standing in the gap between Earth and annihilation with nothing but shadows and will. Thought about Jinnah's latest text message. Oppa, I'm scared. The doctors want to try something experimental. I've killed worse, Jin-Woo said. Cecil studied him for a long moment, then stood and offered his hand. Welcome to Earth's last line of defense. Try not to make me regret this. Jin-Woo didn't take the hand. I'm not here to defend your Earth. I'm here to save mine. Our interests align until they don't. Fair enough. Cecil withdrew his hand without offense. Donald will set you up with access credentials and a secure lab. We've got 17-dimensional scientists who will want to pick your brain and one teenage superhero who won't shut up about the shadow guy who saved my mom. Mark Grayson was waiting outside the building, still in his yellow suit, fidgeting with a kind of nervous energy that came from too much power and not enough purpose. He straightened when Jin-Woo emerged, flying down to street level with slightly better control than yesterday. Hey, Mark said. So, I talked to Cecil. He says you're helping us? That's great. That's really great, because honestly, after the Guardians and everything, we could use someone who... He trailed off, noticing Jin-Woo's expression. Sorry, I'm rambling. I do that when I'm nervous. Why are you nervous? Because you're terrifying. Mark tried for a laugh. It came out broken. Because I watched you kill 300 aliens without breaking a sweat. Because you told me my dad might be a murderer, and I can't stop thinking about it. Jin-Woo started walking. Mark floated alongside him. They moved through downtown Washington, where crews were still cleaning up debris from the Guardian's accident, and people were setting up memorials with flowers and candles and the kind of performative grief that came from losing symbols instead of people. You don't believe me about your father, Jin-Woo said. I don't want to believe you. There's a difference. Mark landed, walked beside him. He's been my hero my whole life. Everything I am, everything I want to be, it's because of him. If you're right, if he really killed them, then what does that make me? His son, Jin-Woo said simply. Not his legacy. You choose what you become. They reached a small park where kids were playing despite the world ending last week. A little girl was on the swings, her mother pushing her, both of them laughing. Jin-Woo watched them and felt the familiar ache of Jinnah's absence like a wound that wouldn't close. I had a choice once, Jin-Woo said, when I became strong enough to matter. I could have used my power for myself. Built an empire. Conquered the hunters who'd laughed at me when I was weak. Instead, I used it to pay my mother's hospital bills and make sure Jinnah never felt afraid again. He turned to Mark. Power doesn't define you. How you carry it does. Mark was quiet for a long time. Then, what's she like? Your sister? Jin-Woo smiled, small and sad. Stubborn, smarter than me. She wanted to be a doctor before the sickness started. Now she can barely hold a textbook without her hands shaking. He pulled up another photo. Jinnah in a hospital bed, giving the camera a peace sign despite the IV in her arm. She keeps telling me she's fine, keeps pretending she's not getting worse. She thinks if she stays positive, I won't do something reckless. Like jumping dimensions to fight aliens? Exactly like that. Mark laughed, genuine this time. She sounds like my mom. Always pretending everything's okay even when it's not. Always protecting me from the truth because she thinks I can't handle it. Can you? The question hit Mark like a punch. His shoulders tensed, his fists clenched. For a moment, Jin-Woo thought the boy might actually take a swing at him. Then Mark deflated, all that power folding in on itself. I don't know, Mark admitted. I don't know if I can handle finding out my dad's a monster. I don't know if I can handle being strong enough to fight him if it's true. I don't know if... His voice cracked. What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm just a kid playing dress-up and everyone figures it out? Jin-Woo remembered the first time he'd faced a boss monster alone. Remembered the fear. Remembered wanting to run. Remembered his mother's medical bills and Jinnah's future and the simple fact that running wasn't an option anymore. You're already good enough, Jin-Woo said. You saved your mother. You're still trying to be a hero even though your world is falling apart. That's more than most people with power ever manage. Mark wiped his eyes quickly, pretending it was sweat. Thanks. That means something. Jin-Woo's phone buzzed. A message from Cecil. Flaxen energy spike detected. Sector 7. Omni-Man is en route. Thought you'd want to observe. He showed Mark the message. The boy's expression shifted. Excitement, nervousness, and something else. Suspicion, doubt. The seeds Jin-Woo had planted beginning to take root. Let's go, Mark said. If there's a fight, you'll want to see how my dad operates. Maybe it'll prove you wrong. Maybe, Jin-Woo said, though they both knew he wouldn't be. They took off, Mark flying, Jin-Woo riding a platform of compressed shadow that moved like liquid night. Below them, the city spread out in its complicated grief. People trying to rebuild normal while their heroes died, and their protectors lied and dimensional rifts threatened to swallow everything. Jin-Woo checked his phone one more time. A text from Jinnah, sent 3 hours ago. The experimental treatment didn't work. Doctor says we're running out of options. But don't worry, Oppa. I know you'll figure something out. You always do. He did worry. He worried constantly. But he also had a lead now. The GDA's files, their dimensional data, and a chance to watch Earth's strongest hero fight to see if the energy signature matched the massacre in the Guardian's chamber. Because if Omni-Man was the monster Jin-Woo suspected, then this world's coming war might provide exactly the combat data he needed. Viltrumite biology, dimensional anchoring through sheer physical durability, the ability to survive forces that should tear reality apart. The shadows around him deepened, anticipating violence. In Seoul, Jinnah was sleeping, her breathing shallow, her phone clutched in weak fingers. In Washington, Omni-Man was smiling as another portal opened and more aliens came to die. And Jin-Woo was watching, always watching, calculating, preparing, because time was running out, and he'd burn this entire universe to ash if it meant one more day with his sister. The Flaxan portal tore open above a shopping mall in suburban Maryland like a wound in the sky. Purple-armored soldiers poured through riding hoverbikes that screamed with alien propulsion, their weapons already firing into crowds that scattered like prey. Jin-Woo and Mark arrived 30 seconds behind Omni-Man, who was already in the air, already moving, already killing with the kind of efficiency that looked heroic until you studied the angles. Jin-Woo studied everything. Omni-Man didn't just fight the Flaxans, he obliterated them. A punch didn't stop at breaking armor. It continued through torso, through spine, through the soldier behind the first target. When he grabbed a hoverbike, it wasn't to disable it, but to swing it like a bat, turning metal and rider into a projectile that carved through 3 more enemies. His movements were economical, brutal, and completely unnecessary. These aliens weren't a threat to him. They were target practice dressed as heroism. "Stay back," Omni-Man called to Mark, his voice carrying fatherly concern even as he tore a Flaxan's head off with casual indifference. "These ones are mine, son. You focus on evacuation." Mark hesitated, torn between following orders and proving himself, then dove toward the mall to pull civilians from rubble. Jin-Woo remained in the air on his shadow platform, invisible to everyone but Omni-Man, who'd glanced at him once. A look that lasted half a second but communicated volumes. Acknowledgement. Assessment. A predator recognizing another predator in its territory. The Flaxan commander emerged from the portal last, riding a war beast that looked like a mantis bred with a tank. It roared something in its chittering language, probably a challenge, probably meaningless. Omni-Man smiled the way a cat smiles at a mouse that thinks it has teeth. The fight lasted 6 seconds. Omni-Man moved faster than most cameras could track, his fist punching through the war beast's skull and out the other side, continuing into the commander's chest cavity, ripping out something that pulsed and glowed before the body hit the ground. He held the organ up to the remaining Flaxans like a trophy, like a warning, and they fled back through their portal with the desperate speed of soldiers who'd finally met something worse than their own empire. The portal collapsed. Omni-Man floated there in the aftermath, his white suit painted in purple blood, his expression showing the perfect amount of exhaustion. Not too much. Wouldn't want to seem weak. Not too little. Wouldn't want to seem inhuman. He'd practiced this look. Jin-Woo recognized performance when he saw it. "Clear," Omni-Man announced to the GDA drones circling above. "Minimal casualties. The threat has been neutralized." He turned to where Jin-Woo hovered, still cloaked in shadows. "You can come out now. I know you're watching." Jin-Woo let the shadows fall away, like a coat being removed. Mark, who'd been helping paramedics, looked up in surprise. The GDA drones immediately shifted focus, cameras zooming in on the newcomer. "Sung Jin-Woo," Omni-Man said, his voice carrying a warmth that didn't reach his eyes. "Cecil told me about you. Said you're helping with our little dimensional problem. That's wonderful. Earth needs all the defenders it can get." "I'm not a defender," Jin-Woo said. "I'm a researcher." "Researching what exactly?" "How you survive." The question hung in the air between them, loaded with implications Omni-Man chose to ignore. He flew closer, stopped at a distance that was friendly but not trusting, his posture relaxed, but his weight balanced for violence. Up close, the man's power was suffocating, not the chaotic energy of rifts or the cold purpose of shadows, but something fundamental. Raw physics bent to will, molecular bonds holding because he decided they would. "We survive by being strong," Omni-Man said, "by having heroes willing to do what's necessary, by not hesitating when monsters come through our doors." His eyes, blue and ancient despite his appearance, studied Jin-Woo with uncomfortable intensity. "What are you, Mr. Sung? Cecil's reports are vague, something about shadows and necromancy and power levels that make our scientists nervous. I'm someone looking for a cure." "For what? Does it matter?" Omni-Man smiled. It was the smile he'd worn over the Guardians' corpses, the smile that said he knew all your secrets and found them amusing. "I suppose not. We all have our reasons for fighting. Mine is protecting my family, my son, my wife, this world they call home." He glanced at Mark, who was being interviewed by news crews, stumbling through explanations of who'd saved who. "What's your reason?" Jin-Woo thought about lying, thought about deflection, then decided that truth was sharper than any blade when wielded correctly. He pulled out his phone, showed Omni-Man the photo of Jinnah in a hospital bed. "My sister. She's dying from dimensional bleed. Your universe somehow stabilizes rifts that should cascade into reality collapse. I need to understand how before she runs out of time." Something flickered across Omni-Man's face. Not sympathy. Viltrumites didn't do sympathy. But recognition, perhaps. Understanding that here was someone who'd burn worlds for family, just like Nolan would burn worlds for empire while pretending it was for his son's future. "How long does she have?" Omni-Man asked. 4 months. Maybe less. "And you think Earth's dimensional anchoring can save her?" "I think your biology can." Jin-Woo met his eyes directly. "You're not human. Neither is Mark. Not entirely. Your cellular structure resists dimensional stress in ways that shouldn't be possible. When you move at those speeds, pass through those portals, survive those impacts, you're bending fundamental laws. That's what I need to understand." Omni-Man was quiet for a long moment. Below them, Mark was flying up, probably to interrupt, probably to ask questions. Nolan raised a hand, stopping his son mid-flight with a gesture that was equal parts fatherly and commanding. "You're perceptive," Omni-Man said. "More perceptive than Cecil gives you credit for. Yes, I'm not human. Yes, my people have certain advantages. But that knowledge comes with a price, Mr. Sung. Understanding Viltrumite biology means understanding our history, our purpose, our future. I don't care about your politics." "You will." Omni-Man's smile widened. "Because if you want to save your sister using our physiology, you'll need living samples, tissue cultures, genetic sequences, blood." He spread his hands. "And I'm the only cooperative Viltrumite on this planet, which means you need me." Jin-Woo saw the trap immediately. Saw how Omni-Man was positioning himself as necessary, as valuable, as someone to be protected when his true nature revealed itself. Saw how the man was building leverage over someone who could potentially threaten him. "What do you want in return?" Jin-Woo asked. "Simple. When the time comes, and it will come, you stay out of Viltrumite business. You focus on your research, save your sister, and leave Earth's future to those who belong here. And if Earth's future conflicts with my research, then we'll have a problem." Omni-Man's eyes hardened. "But I don't think it will. You strike me as pragmatic, Mr. Sung. as someone who understands that sometimes the needs of one person outweigh the needs of millions. That's not weakness. That's clarity. That's what separates us from the sheep below. Mark finally reached them, landing on Jin-Woo's shadow platform with less grace than enthusiasm. "Dad, Jin-Woo, did you guys see that? The way you handled those flak sands was incredible. I counted at least 40 hostiles and you cleared them in under a minute." "Teamwork," Omni-Man said, clapping his son on the shoulder with carefully measured force. "That's what makes us strong. Speaking of which, Jin-Woo here needs some biological samples for his research. I was thinking we could set something up at the house. Your mother makes excellent pot roast." Mark's face lit up. "Really? That'd be amazing. Mom's been wanting to meet you anyway after you saved her. She keeps saying we owe you dinner and—" "No," Jin-Woo interrupted. "Lab samples only. I don't do social calls." The rejection stung Mark visibly. Omni-Man's expression showed disappointed understanding, but his eyes held calculation. He was learning Jin-Woo's boundaries, testing where pressure could be applied. "Another time then," Omni-Man said. "Cecil will arrange the sample collection, but Jin-Woo, remember what I said. We all have families worth protecting. The trick is making sure we protect the right ones." He flew off with Mark, father and son silhouetted against the sun like a propaganda poster. Jin-Woo watched them go and felt the weight of the choice he'd just made. He'd accepted help from a monster, agreed to ignore genocide for tissue samples, sold his principles for a chance to save Jinnah. His phone buzzed. A text from his sister. "Abba, I saw the news. Maryland, are you okay?" He texted back. "I'm fine. Made progress today. How are you feeling?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally. "Tired, but happy you're safe. Love you." Jin-Woo stared at those 2 words for a long time. Then he opened his shadow storage and began cataloging everything he'd observed about Omni-Man's biology. The energy signature, the cellular density, the way space bent around him when he moved. All of it data, all of it potentially useful, all of it bought with the promise to look away when the killing started. The GDA laboratory smelled like sterile ambition and desperate innovation. Jin-Woo stood before a holographic display showing 17 years of dimensional incident data, his shadows moving through the information like fingers through water, sorting, analyzing, cross-referencing against the energy signature, slowly killing his sister. Donald, Cecil's nervous assistant, hovered nearby with a tablet and the perpetual anxiety of someone who'd seen too many world-ending threats before lunch. "This doesn't make sense," Jin-Woo said, his finger stopping on a particular data point. "The Flaxen invasions should have destabilized your dimensional integrity years ago. Every portal opening creates cascade potential. Every rift leaves scar tissue in reality. But your universe isn't collapsing. It's adapting." "We've noticed that too," Donald admitted. "Our scientists think it has something to do with the planet itself. Some kind of natural dimensional anchoring that Earth possesses. We've never been able to isolate it." Jin-Woo pulled up another dataset, this one showing Viltrumite combat encounters. The energy signatures were impossible. Beings moving faster than light without creating temporal paradoxes. Surviving planetary collisions without dimensional bleed. Existing as localized violations of physics that somehow didn't contaminate their surroundings. "It's not the planet," Jin-Woo said quietly. "It's them. Viltrumites. Their cellular structure doesn't just resist dimensional stress, it absorbs it, neutralizes it. They're living stabilizers. Donald's face went pale. That's not information we should be discussing without Cecil present. Why? Because it means you need them. Because it means Earth's survival might depend on the same species that's probably planning to conquer you. Jin-Woo turned from the display. I've seen this pattern before. Powerful beings positioned as necessary evils. Monsters we're told we can't afford to fight. It never ends well. And what would you do? Kill Omni-Man. He's saved this planet 100 times over. So did I once. Saved my world from monarchs who wanted to devour it. Became strong enough that people feared me more than the monsters. Jin-Woo's shadows rippled around him like disturbed water. The difference is, I never pretended to be their hero. The laboratory door opened. Mark walked in wearing civilian clothes, a backpack slung over one shoulder, looking less like Invincible and more like the college student he was supposed to be. His eyes were red-rimmed, not from crying, but from lack of sleep. Jin-Woo recognized the look. He'd worn it for months while his mother fought her illness. "Hey," Mark said. "Cecil said I'd find you here. I brought coffee. Figured you'd been up all night with the data and, He held out a cup. "You seem like the black coffee type." Jin-Woo took it. The gesture was small but genuine. Mark wasn't here on orders or strategy. He was here because loneliness recognized loneliness. "Your father sent you," Jin-Woo said. "Not a question." "What?" "No, I mean, he doesn't know I'm here. I told him I had class, but I couldn't focus on thermodynamics when there's literally dimensional rifts threatening reality." Mark pulled up a chair, sat backward in it with the casual confidence of youth. "Besides, I wanted to ask you something about what you said." "About my dad?" Jin-Woo sipped the coffee. "It was terrible. He drank it anyway." "I've been watching him," Mark continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Really watching, the way you said. And there's these moments where he thinks I'm not looking, where his face just goes blank, empty, like he's wearing a mask and forgot to keep smiling. And I can't stop thinking, what if you're right? What if he killed them? What if my entire life is built on a lie? Then you decide what to do with that truth. That's it. That's your advice? What do you want me to say, Mark? That it gets easier? That you'll find proof and everything will be clear?" Jin-Woo set down the coffee. "My father died when I was young. I spent years thinking he was weak, that his death meant something was wrong with him. Then I became strong and realized weakness isn't about power. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice." He pulled out his phone, showed Mark a different photo. His father, thin and tired but smiling, Jinnah as a baby in his arms. He sacrificed his health working jobs that destroyed him so we could eat. That wasn't weakness. That was strength I was too stupid to recognize. Mark stared at the photo. "What does that have to do with my dad?" "Everything. Because strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about what you protect and how far you'll go to protect it. Your father is strong, but who is he protecting? What is he willing to sacrifice? Those are the questions that matter." Mark was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Can I see her? Your sister?" Jin-Woo's hand tightened on his phone. The question felt invasive, inappropriate, too personal for someone he'd known 3 days. But Mark's expression held something raw and honest. The need to understand that pain had faces, that sacrifice meant something beyond abstract principle. He pulled up a video. Jinna's last birthday before the sickness accelerated. She was laughing at something off camera, their mother bringing out a cake with candles she pretended to have trouble blowing out just to make everyone laugh harder. Jin-Woo's voice in the background, "Make a wish, Jinna." Her response, grinning, "I wish Oppa would stop working so hard and come home more often." The video ended. Mark was crying. "I'm sorry," the boy said, wiping his eyes roughly. "That's just, she seems really great. And the way she looks at you in that video, the way she worries about you. That's how my mom looks at me when I come home bleeding, like love and terror had a baby." "That's family," Jin-Woo said, putting his phone away. "The terror means the love is real." His shadow sensors screamed a warning half a second before the alarm. Donald's tablet lit up with proximity alerts. On the holographic display, a new portal signature was forming, bigger than the Flaxen incursions, stranger energy pattern, and opening directly above downtown Washington. "That's not Flaxen," Donald said, his voice tight with controlled panic. "That's not anything in our database." Jin-Woo's shadows were already moving, already forming armor, already preparing for violence. Mark stood, his civilian clothes shredding as he flexed, his yellow suit underneath because of course he wore it everywhere. The boy was learning. "Jin-Woo," Mark said, "what if this is connected to your sister's sickness? What if—" "Then I'm taking samples." Jin-Woo opened a shadow portal of his own, the darkness swirling like liquid night. "Stay behind me. Whatever comes through that rift, it's been places your world hasn't seen. It might be carrying dimensional contamination that could hurt you. I'm Viltrumite. I can take it. You're half Viltrumite, and you're untested." Jin-Woo stepped into his portal. "But come anyway. You need to see what real dimensional threats look like. Your father's been protecting you from them. That protection is about to end." They emerged in the sky above Washington just as the rift tore open fully. What came through wasn't an army. It was a creature. Singular, massive. Its body a constantly shifting mass of eyes and mouths and geometries that hurt to perceive. A dimensional predator, the kind of thing that lived between realities and fed on the boundaries between them. Mark froze. His training, his strength, his confidence, all of it shattered against the simple wrongness of what he was seeing. Jin-Woo had seen this before. The first time anyone witnessed something that shouldn't exist, shouldn't be possible, the mind wanted to reject it like a failed organ transplant. "Breathe," Jin-Woo said. "It's just another monster. I've killed worse." "That thing is eating reality," Mark whispered. "I can see it. Where it moves, space is just gone. How do you fight something that unmakes existence?" Jin-Woo smiled, cold and certain. "The same way I fought everything else that tried to take my family from me. I make it regret being born." His shadows exploded outward. 10,000 soldiers manifesting in the sky, their forms solid and hungry. The creature turned its infinite eyes toward them and screamed in a frequency that shattered windows for 3 blocks. Jin-Woo's shadows screamed back, and above them, flying at speeds that bent light, Omni-Man was approaching, his face showing concern, his eyes showing interest, his smile showing nothing at all. The real test was about to begin. The dimensional predator's scream tasted like copper and dying stars. Jin-Woo's shadow army hit it like a black tsunami, 10,000 soldiers armed with blades forged from compressed darkness, each one expendable, each one replaced the moment it fell. The creature's body rippled with impact, its geometry shifting to accommodate wounds that should have been fatal, but instead simply relocated to different angles of existence. Mark hovered beside Jin-Woo, fists clenched, watching the carnage with wide eyes. Your soldiers. They're not doing anything, it's just absorbing them. They're not meant to kill it, Jin-Woo said, his voice calm despite the chaos. They're mapping it. Every impact gives me data. Dimensional frequency, structural integrity. Weak points. His eyes glowed faint purple as he processed information faster than any computer. There, the third mouth on the left quadrant, it's not rotating with the rest of the body. That's the anchor point. The what? The part that's still connected to its home dimension. Cut that and it loses cohesion. Jin-Woo raised his hand, shadows coalescing into a single massive blade. Watch and learn. He moved. Not flew. Moved. His shadow platform launched him forward with acceleration that would have liquefied a normal human, his blade extending, reaching, finding that single immobile mouth in a creature made of constantly shifting horror. The impact rang like a bell made of broken glass. Reality around the wound cracked, bled something that wasn't blood, and the creature convulsed. Then Omni-Man arrived. He didn't announce himself. Didn't call out strategy. He simply flew through the creature at full speed, his body a missile of concentrated physics. And where he passed, the dimensional predator came apart like tissue paper. The thing screamed again, this time in pain that transcended frequency and began collapsing inward like a dying star. No, Jin-Woo shouted, but it was too late. Omni-Man had already punched through the anchor point, already destroyed the only stable connection, and now the creature was going into dimensional cascade. Its body folded through impossible angles, pulling surrounding space with it, creating a vortex that began sucking in everything within 100 yards. Jin-Woo's shadows exploded outward, forming a web between buildings, between streets, catching civilians who'd been pulled off their feet and hurling them away from the collapse point. Mark grabbed a bus that was sliding toward oblivion, his feet digging furrows in asphalt as he fought against physics going insane. "Stabilize it," Jin-Woo yelled at Omni-Man. "You ruptured the dimensional seal." "It was going to collapse anyway," Omni-Man said, not even breathing hard. "I just accelerated the process." "You destroyed my sample." "Your what?" Omni-Man's expression shifted, understanding dawning. "You wanted to study it. You think this thing's biology connects to your sister's condition." The vortex was getting worse. Jin-Woo made a choice he knew he'd regret. He dove into the collapse point, his shadows forming a shell around him, and began pulling. Not physically, dimensionally. His power had always been about control, about commanding death itself, and death was just another kind of boundary. He found the edges of the wound in reality and forced them closed, pouring energy into the task, feeling his reserves draining faster than they had since fighting the Frost Monarch. The vortex sealed with a sound like reality sighing in relief. The dimensional predators remained scattered into particles that dissolved before hitting the ground. Jin-Woo landed on a rooftop, breathing hard, his shadows flickering with exhaustion. Mark and Omni-Man landed beside him. The boy looked concerned. The man looked curious. "That was impressive," Omni-Man said. "Dangerous, but impressive. You just sealed a dimensional rupture with nothing but willpower and shadow manipulation." Our scientists will want to study how you did that. Your scientists can go to hell, Jin-Woo said. That creature was carrying dimensional antibodies. Its biology was actively fighting the rift corruption. I could have extracted samples, analyzed them, synthesized a treatment. He turned on Omni-Man, shadows rising around him like cobra hoods. You didn't just accelerate the process, you sabotaged my research. Or I saved several thousand lives by ending the threat quickly. Omni-Man's voice remained calm, reasonable, infuriatingly paternal. You're thinking like a scientist, Jin-Woo. Sometimes you need to think like a soldier. The mission is survival, not study. The mission is my sister. And my mission is Earth. Omni-Man floated closer, his presence oppressive. You need to decide what's more important. Saving one person or working with the team that's keeping this planet alive. Because if you keep prioritizing personal goals over collective defense, Cecil will stop seeing you as an asset. Mark stepped between them, hands raised. Okay, let's just... Everyone calm down. Dad, Jin-Woo had a point about the samples. Maybe we could have captured it instead of killing it. And Jin-Woo, Dad's right that the vortex was going to kill people if someone didn't act fast. He looked between them, desperate to find middle ground. Can't we just, I don't know, work together better? Jin-Woo studied Mark's face. The pleading, the hope, the naive belief that everyone could be reasoned with if you just tried hard enough. It reminded him of Jin-Ah, of the way she'd tried to mediate between him and their mother when he'd first started hunting, when the association thought he was worthless and his family thought he was wasting his life. Your son is too good for this world, Jin-Woo said to Omni-Man. That's going to get him killed. Or it's going to save him, Omni-Man replied. Empathy isn't weakness, Jin-Woo. It's what separates us from the monsters. Is it? Jin-Woo let his shadows recede, too tired to maintain the threat display. Because from where I'm standing, the only difference between us and them is that we tell better stories about why we do terrible things. His phone buzzed. A message from Seoul, from Jin-Ah's doctor. Mr. Sung, we need to discuss your sister's latest test results. Please call as soon as possible. Jin-Woo's blood went cold. Test results that required immediate discussion were never good news. He opened a shadow portal without another word. Wait, Mark called out. Where are you going? Home, family emergency. Is it Jin-Ah? Mark flew forward. Is she okay? I don't know yet. Jin-Woo stepped halfway through the portal, then paused, looked back at Mark, at the boy's genuine concern for someone he'd never met, at the empathy Omni-Man claimed separated them from monsters. Mark, when you figure out what your father really is, when you have to choose between the family you were born with and the family you choose, remember that hesitation kills. Decide fast and commit fully. It's the only way either of you survive. He vanished into shadow before Mark could respond. The trip from Washington to Seoul took 6 seconds through the shadow dimension. Jin-Woo emerged in the hospital hallway outside Jin-Ah's room, his coat still smoking from dimensional transit, his heart hammering in a way no monster had ever made it hammer. Dr. Park was waiting. Her expression told him everything before she spoke. Mr. Sung, your sister's cellular degradation has accelerated. The dimensional energy signature in her bloodstream has increased by 40% in the last 72 hours. We've tried every treatment protocol we have. Nothing is working. She handed him a tablet showing scan results that looked like static eating healthy tissue from the inside out. I'm sorry, At this rate, she has 2 weeks. Maybe less. Jin-Woo stared at the scans. 2 weeks. 14 days. Not 4 months. Not enough time. Not enough time to study Viltrumite biology, to synthesize treatments, to find the dimensional anchor that Earth possessed and replicate it. Not enough time to save her. Through the window he could see Gina sleeping, her face pale, her breathing shallow, an IV in her arm feeding her medications that did nothing but delay the inevitable. She looked so small, so fragile, so utterly breakable in a way that all his power couldn't fix. His phone buzzed again. A message from Cecil. New dimensional signature detected. Same type as the Predator, bigger, arriving in 6 hours. Need all available assets. That includes you. Jin-Woo deleted the message without responding. He had 2 weeks to save his sister. Earth's problems would have to wait, or Earth would have to provide what he needed, whether it wanted to or not. He pushed open Jinna's door, sat in the chair beside her bed, took her hand in his, and began calculating exactly how far he was willing to go. How many lines he'd cross, how many people he'd sacrifice, how much of his humanity he'd burn away if it meant keeping her alive. The answer, he realized with cold clarity, was all of it, every last piece. Jinna stirred, opened her eyes, smiled weakly. "Oppa, you're back. Did you find anything?" "Yes," Jin-Woo lied, squeezing her hand gently. "I found something promising. Just need a little more time." "Good. That's good." Her eyes were already closing. "I knew you would. You always figure it out." Jin-Woo sat there in the darkness, holding his sister's hand, and made a decision that would define everything that came after. Jin-Woo spent 48 hours in Seoul watching his sister sleep and planning what came next. Dr. Park brought charts, specialists brought theories, and all of them brought the same conclusion wrapped in different words. Jinna was dying, and medical science had no answers. On the second night, while she slept fitfully under medications that barely touched her pain, Jin-Woo made 3 phone calls that would reshape everything. The first was to Cecil. "I need access to Omni-Man's blood samples. Full genetic sequencing. Everything you have on Viltrumite's cellular structure. Those files are classified above your clearance level," Cecil said, his voice flat with suspicion. "And before you ask, no, I won't authorize access based on a sob story about your sister. Give me one good reason why I should trust you with information that could be weaponized against Earth's strongest defender. Because in 4 hours, another dimensional predator arrives, bigger than the last one, and you need me to kill it without Omni-Man destroying the sample." Jin-Woo watched Jinna's heart monitor, counting the 2 slow beats. "Give me what I need and I'll gift-wrap a dead monster with intact biological material. Refuse and I let Omni-Man handle it his way. Your choice." Silence. Then, "You're willing to let people die over file access." "I'm willing to do whatever it takes to save my sister. You knew that when you recruited me. Don't act surprised when I keep my promises." The call ended. 30 minutes later, Jin-Woo's secure tablet pinged with an encrypted data dump. Cecil had given him everything: blood work, tissue samples, genetic maps showing how Viltrumite DNA resisted forces that should rip molecules apart. Jin-Woo absorbed it all, cross-referenced it against Jinna's scans, and found the connection he'd been hunting. Viltrumites didn't just resist dimensional stress. Their cells generated a localized stabilization field, a biological anchor that kept reality coherent even when physics went insane. If he could isolate that mechanism, synthesize it, inject it into Gina's bloodstream. His phone rang. Mark's name on the screen. "Don't hang up," the boy said immediately. "I know you're dealing with family stuff. I know you don't want to be bothered, but Cecile said you're coming back for the next predator, and I need to talk to you before you do something stupid." "I don't do stupid things. I do necessary things. Jin-Woo, please, just listen." Mark's voice cracked with exhaustion. "I've been watching my dad like you said. Really watching, and I found something. After the last fight, after you left, he made a phone call. I couldn't hear who he was talking to, but I heard what he said. He said, the Shadow Summoner is becoming a problem and we should handle it before he learns too much, and a long breath. I think he's planning something. I think you're right about him." Jin-Woo looked at Jina, at her chest rising and falling with mechanical regularity, at the IV feeding her body chemicals that couldn't stop what was happening inside her. "Did you tell Cecil?" "I can't prove anything. It's just a phone call, just suspicion. But Jin-Woo, if my dad really killed the Guardians, if he's really working against Earth, then maybe you shouldn't come back. Maybe you should stay with your sister and just let us handle—" "I'm coming back," Jin-Woo interrupted. "Not to help Earth, to get what I need. That predator's biology is the key to saving Jina. I'm taking samples whether your father approves or not." "That's what I was afraid of." Mark's voice went quiet. "You're going to fight him, aren't you? You're going to force a confrontation over monster parts, and he's going to kill you, and then what happens to your sister?" "Then she dies knowing I tried everything." Jin-Woo stood, walked to the window overlooking Seoul's nighttime skyline. "But he won't kill me, Mark, because I'm not stupid enough to fight Omni-Man directly. I'm going to do what I do best, survive, adapt, and take what I need from the shadows while stronger things are busy fighting each other. That's not heroic. That's just using people. I never said I was a hero." Jin-Woo ended the call. The second phone call was to the Korean Hunters Association, to his old contact who still owed him favors from the Jeju Island raid. "I need a dungeon break. Controlled. In Washington, D.C. Synchronized with the Dimensional Predator's arrival. Can you arrange it?" "Are you insane? The international community will lose their minds if we deliberately—" "You owe me your life. I'm collecting. Make it happen, or I tell your wife about the Busan incident." The call ended with cursing but agreement. Sometimes leverage was cleaner than morality. The third call was to someone who didn't exist in any official database, who'd helped Jin-Woo once before when he needed to move through shadows that even his powers couldn't reach. The architect, they called themselves. A person or thing that understood dimensional mechanics the way Jin-Woo understood death. "Shadow Monarch," the distorted voice said. "You're calling in your favor early. The payment will be steep." "Name it." "When your sister is saved, when you return to your world, you owe me one door, one passage through the veil between life and death, opened on my command. No questions asked." Jin-Woo hesitated. Giving the architect access to his authority over death was dangerous, potentially catastrophic, but Jina's heart monitor beeped its slow rhythm and the choice became simple. "Done. What do I get?" "A shadow anchor. Something that will let you capture the Predator's dimensional stabilization field before Omni-Man can destroy it." But Jin-Woo, using it, will mark you. The Viltrumite Empire will know what you are, what you can do. They'll come for you. Let them come, the architect laughed, a sound like wind through dead trees. I knew you'd say that. Check your dimensional storage in 60 seconds. And Monarch, don't die before I collect my debt. The call ended. Jin-Woo's shadow storage rippled and something new manifested, a crystal that pulsed with energy that felt wrong in ways he couldn't articulate. Instructions came with it, burned directly into his mind. Plant it at the predator's entry point. Let it feed on the creature's death. Extract the stabilization field before collapse. Simple in theory, potentially fatal in practice. Jinna stirred, opened her eyes, found him standing at the window. Oppa, what are you doing up? You should sleep. Can't sleep? Too much to think about. About me? She tried to sit up, winced, settled back. I'm okay, really. The new medications are helping. She was lying. They both knew it, but Jin-Woo had learned years ago that sometimes love meant accepting comfortable lies. I have to go back, he said. To America. There's something I need to collect. I'll be gone for a few days. Will it help? What you're collecting? Yes, I think so. Maybe. Jinna smiled, weak but genuine. Then go. Do what you need to do. I'll be here when you get back. I promise. Jin-Woo wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe she had weeks, had days, had any time at all, but the monitors told a different story. The scans showed truth no promises could change. He knelt beside her bed, took her hand. Jinna, if something goes wrong, if I don't make it back in time, you'll make it back. She squeezed his hand with strength she didn't have. You're the Shadow Monarch. You always figure it out. You always come home. He kissed her forehead, stood, opened a shadow portal that led back to Washington. Back to monsters and liars, and a boy trying to be a hero while his father planned genocide. Back to a fight that would either save everything or destroy the last shred of humanity Jin-Woo had left. I love you, he said. Love you too, Oppa. Bring me back a good story. Jin-Woo stepped through the portal before she could see his expression, before she could see the decision written in his eyes, before she could understand that her brother was about to do something unforgivable in her name, and there would be no coming back from it. The portal closed. Jinna was alone again, her heart monitor beeping its countdown, her phone showing 17 missed messages from friends she no longer had energy to answer. In Washington, Jin-Woo emerged in an alley 3 blocks from the predicted arrival point. The city was evacuating. The GDA had drones everywhere. Mark was in the sky, searching for him, probably wanting to have one more conversation about morality and heroism and all the things that mattered when you had time to care about them. Jin-Woo had 2 weeks, maybe less. Time for morality had run out. He planted the architect's crystal in the shadow of a building that would collapse when the predator arrived. Positioned his shadow soldiers in patterns that looked like defense but were actually extraction protocols. Sent one message to Cecil. I'm here, ready when you are. Then he waited for the monster to arrive, for Omni-Man to show his true face, and for everything to burn. The dimensional predator arrived like a migraine made flesh. One moment the sky was clear. The next, it was hemorrhaging wrongness. A tear in reality that bled colors with no names, shapes that existed in too many dimensions simultaneously. and a presence that made Jin-Woo's shadow soldiers recoil despite having no instinct for self-preservation. This one was bigger than the last, smarter. It didn't just tear through reality seeking food. It studied its surroundings with intelligence that felt malicious. Mark arrived first, hovering at a safe distance, his yellow suit bright against the darkening sky. "Jin-Woo, I can see your shadows. Where are you?" "Exactly where I need to be." Jin-Woo remained cloaked, positioned between buildings where his presence would be invisible to most senses. "Stay back, Mark. This one's different." "Different how?" "It's hunting. The last one was lost. This one chose to be here." The predator's body unfolded like origami made from space-time, revealing layers of anatomy that shouldn't exist. Mouths within mouths. Eyes that saw through dimensions. Appendages that reached through probability itself, testing futures where it had already won. Jin-Woo's analysis skills, honed through 1,000 boss fights, cataloged everything: structural weak points, energy flow patterns, the dimensional anchor that kept it stable. There, a crystalline core rotating through its center mass, phasing in and out of visible reality at precise intervals. The GDA opened fire. Missiles, railguns, directed energy weapons, everything they had. The attacks passed through the predator like light through fog, impacting buildings behind it, killing empty air while the real target remained untouched. "Conventional weapons won't work." Jin-Woo sent the message directly to Cecil through encrypted shadow transmission. Its phase shifted, existing partially in at least 6 dimensions simultaneously. You need to force it into singular dimensional cohesion before you can hurt it. And how exactly do we do that? Cecil's voice came back sharp with stress. "You don't." "I do." Jin-Woo raised both hands, shadows erupting from every dark space within 5 blocks. Not his soldiers this time. Pure, concentrated darkness, the fundamental substance of his authority, flowing like liquid toward the predator and wrapping around it like chains. The creature shrieked, its multi-dimensional form flickering as Jin-Woo's power forced it to choose. Exist here or exist nowhere. It chose here. Solidified, became vulnerable. "Now!" Jin-Woo shouted, and Mark didn't hesitate. The boy flew forward with everything he had, fist extended, impact imminent. He hit the predator's crystalline core dead center with force that created a sonic boom heard in 3 states. The crystal cracked. The predator convulsed. Reality around it began destabilizing as its anchor point shattered. Then Omni-Man arrived. He didn't fly in. He appeared, having been moving too fast for conventional observation, his fist already extending toward the predator's fragmenting core. Jin-Woo saw what was about to happen, saw Omni-Man preparing to punch through the creature entirely, to obliterate it before Jin-Woo could extract anything useful, exactly like last time. The pattern was clear now. Omni-Man wasn't just protecting Earth. He was making sure Jin-Woo stayed dependent, stayed controllable, stayed desperate enough to overlook genocide when it came. Jin-Woo made his move. His shadows exploded outward, not to attack, but to engulf, wrapping around the predator's fragmenting body like a cocoon, pulling it down and sideways into the space between dimensions where Jin-Woo's authority was absolute. The architect's crystal activated, drinking in the creature's dimensional stabilization field as it died, extracting the one thing that could save Jinnah. Omni-Man's fist hit empty air. The sonic boom from his punch leveled 6 buildings. He floated there in the debris cloud, his expression unreadable, then turned slowly to where Jin-Woo was materializing from shadow. "You stole my kill," Omni-Man said quietly. "I completed my objective." Jin-Woo held up the crystal, now pulsing with captured energy. "The threat is neutralized. The city is safe. That's what matters, isn't it? What matters is following protocol, working as a team, not going rogue because you've got personal stakes." Omni-Man flew closer, stopped just outside arm's reach. "Cecil warned me you were becoming unstable, prioritizing your sister over planetary defense. I told him you'd make the right choice when it mattered. Was I wrong?" Mark landed between them, breathing hard from his exertion, looking between his father and Jin-Woo with growing alarm. "Dad, Jin-Woo just saved the city. He forced that thing into a state where I could actually hit it. Without him, we'd still be shooting at ghosts. And without me, he'd have let it escape into shadow with its biology intact, creating an even bigger threat down the line." Omni-Man's smile was patient, reasonable, the expression of a teacher correcting a well-meaning student. Jin-Woo doesn't think strategically. He thinks tactically. Short-term gains for long-term problems. "That's rich," Jin-Woo said, "coming from someone who murdered his teammates and is pretending he didn't." The words landed like a bomb. Mark's face went white. Omni-Man's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Calculation recalibrating, timelines adjusting, the moment he'd been waiting for finally arriving ahead of schedule. "That's a serious accusation," Omni-Man said softly. "Based on what evidence?" "Based on energy signature analysis. Based on the fact that every wound on the Guardians matched Viltrumite impact trauma. Based on the fact that you were conveniently too late to help but perfectly positioned to control the narrative." Jin-Woo's shadows began rising like smoke. "Based on the fact that you've been sabotaging my research since I arrived because you're afraid of what I might become if I solve my problem. Because a Shadow Monarch who doesn't need anything from you is a Shadow Monarch who might actually stand in your way." Mark was shaking. "Dad, tell him he's wrong. Tell him this is crazy. Tell him you wouldn't." "Mark," Omni-Man said, still looking at Jin-Woo, "go home. Now. Dad, please, now." The command wasn't loud, but it carried absolute authority. Mark flinched like he'd been struck, then flew away, looking back every few seconds, his face a mask of confusion and dawning horror. Jin-Woo watched him go and felt something almost like regret. The boy deserved better than this. Deserved a father who wasn't a monster. Deserved a mentor who wasn't about to fight that father over biological samples. When Mark was gone, when it was just two killers floating above a ruined city, Omni-Man's expression finally shifted. The mask came off. What replaced it was older than Earth, colder than space, and absolutely certain of its superiority. "You're perceptive," Omni-Man said. "More perceptive than Cecil gave you credit for. Yes, I killed them. Yes, I'm preparing Earth for Viltrumite rule. And yes, I've been limiting your research because I don't need you getting strong enough to interfere." He cracked his knuckles, a casual gesture that somehow carried infinite threat. "But here's what you don't understand, Jin-Woo. I don't care about your sister. I don't care about your world. I care about my son learning to embrace his heritage before it's too late. And you're teaching him to question, to doubt, to think there's nobility in fighting impossible odds for people who aren't even his species. Is that what this is about? Teaching moments?" Jin-Woo's laugh was bitter. You're going to kill me to protect your son's education. I'm going to kill you because you're in my way. Omni-Man moved, closing the distance between them faster than sound, faster than thought. His fist aimed at Jin-Woo's chest with force designed to turn organs into paste. Jin-Woo dissolved into shadow, reforming 50 feet away, his heart hammering but his hands steady. I'm not fighting you, Jin-Woo said. Not today, not like this. Because you're right about one thing, I don't think strategically enough. He held up the crystal containing the Predator's stabilization field. I got what I came for. Your son is starting to see what you are, and every second you waste trying to kill me is another second Mark has to warn Cecil, to tell the world, to become the hero you're terrified he might actually be. Omni-Man stopped, calculated, then smiled again, this time with genuine amusement. You think Mark will betray me? He's my son. Blood is stronger than heroism. We'll see. Jin-Woo opened a shadow portal. When I come back, it'll be with a cure for my sister and no reason to tolerate your existence. Until then, enjoy the time you have left pretending to be a hero. It won't last. He stepped through, portal closing behind him just as Omni-Man's fist destroyed the space where he'd been standing. The punch continued through 2 buildings, the force of it visible from orbit. In Seoul, Jin-Woo materialized in the hospital hallway, the crystal clutched in his hand, his body shaking from adrenaline and the terrible knowledge that he'd just made an enemy who could crack planets. Dr. Park looked up from her charts, her expression shifting to hope. Mr. Sung, you're back. Please tell me that's what I think it is. Jin-Woo handed her the crystal. Dimensional stabilization field, extracted from a creature that survives by existing in multiple realities simultaneously. If your theory is correct, if Jinnah's cells are degrading because they can't handle rift resonance, then this should act as a biological anchor. Force her cells to maintain coherence despite dimensional stress. Dr. Park was already moving, already calling for her team. We'll need to synthesize it, test it, run simulations before we can... You have 6 hours, Jin-Woo interrupted. After that, the Viltrumite Empire will know what I did. They'll come looking, and I need Jinnah stable enough to move before that happens. Dr. Park's face hardened. Then we better get started. The synthesized treatment looked like liquid starlight in the IV bag, glowing faint blue with energy that made reality uncomfortable around it. Dr. Park's hands were steady as she inserted the needle into Jinnah's port, but her voice carried the weight of a gamble with no second chances. Once this enters her bloodstream, there's no stopping the process. Her cells will either stabilize or they'll reject it completely. We'll know within 3 hours. Jinnah was awake, her eyes clear despite the exhaustion written in every line of her face. She looked at the glowing liquid, then at Jin-Woo standing beside her bed with shadows coiling anxiously around his feet. Oppa, you look terrible. When's the last time you slept? When's the last time you weren't dying? He tried for a smile. It came out broken. Don't worry about me. Focus on getting better. I'm always worrying about you, that's my job. She reached out, took his hand. Her grip was weak but determined. Whatever you did to get this, whatever it cost, thank you. Thank you, and it works. It'll work. Because you're too stubborn to fail. She closed her eyes as the treatment began flowing. Tell me about it, about where you went, what you fought. I want a story, Oppa. Something to focus on instead of whatever this feels like. So Jin-Woo told her. Not everything. Not the part about Omni-Man planning genocide. Not the part about making deals with entities that traded in death. Not the part about burning his humanity one compromise at a time. But he told her about Mark, about a boy trying to be a hero while his world fell apart. About dimensional predators that existed in 6 realities simultaneously. About shadow soldiers fighting impossible odds because their master refused to accept defeat. Jinna listened, her breathing gradually steadying, her heart rate normalizing on the monitors. 15 minutes in, her grip on his hand strengthened. 30 minutes in, color began returning to her face. 45 minutes in, the cellular degradation readings started reversing. Dr. Park watched the monitors with the focus of someone witnessing a miracle and trying to document it scientifically. It's working. The dimensional anchor is integrating with her cellular structure. The rift resonance in her bloodstream is being neutralized. Mr. Sung, I think we did it. I think we actually did it. Jin-Woo didn't let himself hope yet. He'd learned in dungeons that victory announcements came before the boss's second phase. He kept holding Jinna's hand, kept his shadows ready to tear open portals if her condition crashed, kept calculating escape routes in case the Viltrumite Empire showed up early. 2 hours in, Jinna opened her eyes fully. Oppa, I feel weird. Not bad weird, good weird, like I can breathe properly for the first time in months. Don't move too fast. Your body's still adjusting. I'm not moving at all. I'm just lying here feeling not dying. She laughed, the sound stronger than it had been in half a year. Is this what normal people feel like? No wonder they waste so much time being happy. Jin-Woo's phone buzzed. A message from Cecil. We need to talk. Omni-Man filed a formal complaint. Says you stole classified biological samples and attacked him unprovoked. He's calling for your arrest. Call me back now. Jin-Woo deleted the message. Whatever happened next, it happened after Jinna was stable enough to move. He sent a different message to the Korean Hunters Association. Prepare emergency extraction. Presidential level security. I'm bringing someone home and there may be pursuers. The response came in seconds. Understood. Hunter Sung, whatever you've gotten into, the association stands with you. We don't forget Jeju Island. 3 hours after treatment began, Dr. Park ran final scans and turned to Jin-Woo with tears in her eyes. Cellular degradation has stopped completely. Rift resonance signature is dropping to negligible levels. Vital signs are stabilizing across all metrics. Mr. Sung, your sister is going to live. Jin-Woo felt his knees go weak. He sat down hard in the chair beside Jinna's bed, his shadows dissolving into mist, his carefully maintained composure finally cracking. Jinna squeezed his hand. Don't cry, Oppa. You'll ruin your scary monster reputation. Shut up. I'm not crying. You're definitely crying. I'm expressing liquid relief through my face. It's different. Jinna laughed again, and the sound was everything Jin-Woo had fought for. Everything he'd sacrificed for, everything that made the compromises and the violence and the deals with devils worth it. He'd saved her. Against dimensional predators and Viltrumite interference and his own limitations, he'd actually saved her. His phone rang. Cecil's name. Jin-Woo answered. Where are you? Cecil's voice was tight with controlled anger. Omni-Man is pushing hard for your extradition. He wants you brought in for questioning about unauthorized biological experimentation and theft of dimensional assets. I'm running out of excuses to deny him. Then stop making excuses. I got what I needed. My sister is cured. I'm coming back to help with Earth's Viltrumite problem, but on my terms now. Not as someone desperate enough to ignore genocide. Jin-Woo, listen to me very carefully. If you come back as a hostile asset, Omni-Man will have justification to kill you. Is your pride really worth dying over? It's not about pride. It's about the fact that Mark Grayson deserves better than a father who murders heroes and calls it leadership. And Earth deserves to know what's coming before the invasion starts. Jin-Woo looked at Jin-Ah, at her stabilizing vitals, at the future he'd just secured. I'm done playing politics, Cecil. I'm done pretending Omni-Man isn't exactly what we both know he is. When I return, I'm standing with Mark against his father. You can help, or you can stay out of the way. Silence. Then, you're asking me to bet Earth's survival on a teenager and a necromancer against the most powerful being on the planet. I'm telling you, that fight is coming whether you bet on it or not. At least this way you get to choose which side you're on when it starts. Cecil hung up without answering. Jin-Woo knew what that meant. The director would hedge his bets, prepare contingencies, position himself to claim credit regardless of who won. Smart play. Expected play. Jin-Woo would have done the same. Jin-Ah was sitting up now, slowly, carefully, testing her body's new stability. Oppa, this hero you mentioned. Mark. He sounds like he needs help. He does. Then you should help him. That's what you do. You help people even when it costs you everything. She looked at him seriously. But promise me you'll come back. Promise me this cure works permanently, and I don't wake up in a month to find out you died fighting aliens while I was getting healthy. Jin-Woo pulled her into a gentle hug. I promise. I didn't burn down half my soul to save you just to die stupidly afterward. Good, because I'm going to medical school, and I need my brother alive to come to my graduation. Jin-Woo held her tighter, memorizing the moment, storing it against whatever came next. Then he stood, his shadows reforming around him, his expression hardening into the mask he wore for war. Dr. Park, keep her here under maximum security. If anyone who isn't Korean military tries to access this floor, evacuate immediately and call this number. He handed her a card with the association director's private line. I'll be back in 72 hours. Maybe less if things go well. And if they don't go well, then you'll hear about it on the news. He opened a shadow portal. On the other side, Washington, D.C. was burning. Not literally, not yet. But Jin-Woo's sensors detected energy signatures gathering. Viltrumite signatures. Multiple contacts. The Empire had noticed him, and they were sending more than Omni-Man this time. Jin-Woo emerged from shadow above Washington to find Mark Grayson fighting his father in the ruins of what used to be a city park. The boy was bleeding from a dozen places, his yellow suit torn, his face a mask of betrayed rage and desperate hope that this was somehow a misunderstanding. Omni-Man wasn't bleeding at all. He was talking, his voice carrying across the devastation with the patient tone of a teacher explaining basic math. You have to understand, Mark, Earth isn't our home. It's a staging ground. The Viltrumite Empire chose this planet because humans are genetically compatible for breeding stock. Your mother, your friends, everyone you think you're protecting, they're resources, tools, and you're wasting your potential defending tools. Mark hit him with everything he had. The punch created a crater where they'd been floating. Omni-Man didn't even move, just let the force dissipate against his chest like rain on stone. "I'm done explaining," Mark said, his voice breaking. "I'm done listening to you justify murder. The Guardians trusted you. I trusted you, and you killed them. You killed them, and you made me complicit by lying to my face every single day. I killed them because they would have stood in my way, just like you're standing in my way now." Omni-Man grabbed Mark by the throat, lifted him effortlessly. "But you're my son, my legacy. You can still choose correctly. Join me. Help me prepare Earth for the Empire. Do this and you'll rule beside me. Refuse and—" Jin-Woo's shadow blade caught Omni-Man across the back, cutting through his suit, drawing blood for the first time in the fight. Not much blood. Viltrumite's skin was dense enough to laugh at nuclear weapons, but enough. Enough to prove he could be hurt. Enough to make him drop Mark and turn with murder in his ancient eyes. "You," Omni-Man said. "I should have killed you when you first arrived. You should have done a lot of things differently." Jin-Woo's shadows erupted from every dark space in the city, 10,000 soldiers manifesting simultaneously, their forms more solid than before, their weapons sharper, their purpose absolute. "Mark, get to safety. This isn't your fight anymore." "The hell it isn't. He's my father, my responsibility." Mark wiped blood from his mouth, positioned himself beside Jin-Woo. "We do this together or not at all?" Jin-Woo wanted to argue, but recognized the futility. Some fights you couldn't walk away from, even when wisdom demanded retreat. He'd learned that lesson in the double dungeon. Trapped with no escape and death on all sides. Sometimes you fought because fighting was the only option left. "Fine, but follow my lead. I've killed gods before." Jin-Woo's shadows began moving in patterns that looked chaotic but were precisely choreographed. "Your father is strong, but he's arrogant. Used to winning through raw power. We win by making him work for it. By exhausting him. By proving that strength isn't enough when you're fighting someone who refuses to stay dead." Omni-Man laughed. "You think shadows and determination are enough against a Viltrumite? I've conquered worlds, boy. I've exterminated species that had powers you couldn't imagine. You're nothing but—" He stopped talking because Jin-Woo's soldiers hit him from every direction simultaneously. 10,000 blades finding the same spot on his back. The wound Jin-Woo had already opened, driving deeper with coordinated precision. Omni-Man roared, spun, his fists moving faster than railgun rounds, destroying soldiers by the hundreds. But Jin-Woo just made more. For every shadow destroyed, 2 more arose. He'd learned in the Architect's dungeon that quantity had a quality all its own when you had infinite reinforcements and your enemy had finite patience. Mark flew in low, hitting Omni-Man's legs with a tackle that actually moved him, that actually made him stumble. The surprise on Nolan's face was worth everything. His son, half human, untrained, fighting with technique that was barely competent, had just proven he was strong enough to matter. "Mark," Omni-Man said, his voice carrying something almost like pride mixed with frustration. "You're stronger than I thought. Good. That'll make this easier when you finally accept." Jin-Woo's blade punched through Omni-Man's chest from behind, manifesting from shadow directly inside his guard, the edge finding the space between ribs that even Viltrumite biology couldn't completely armor. Not deep enough to kill, Jin-Woo didn't have that kind of power, but deep enough to hurt. deep enough to prove that invincibility was a lie sold to those too weak to test it. Omni-Man caught the blade, ripped it out, turned and backhanded Jin-Woo hard enough to send him through 3 buildings. The impact should have been fatal. Would have been fatal for anyone whose body was purely physical. But Jin-Woo's form was half shadow now, dispersing on impact, reforming in the debris with damage that looked worse than it was. "Mark," Jin-Woo called out, spitting blood that was more for show than necessity. "The wound on his back. Keep hitting it. Make him defend. Make him choose between offense and protecting his weak point." Mark nodded, understanding the strategy. They couldn't beat Omni-Man in a straight fight, but they could make him bleed, make him tired, make him angry enough to make mistakes. Above them, the sky was darkening, not from weather, from portals. 3 Viltrumite signatures incoming, responding to Omni-Man's distress signal, coming to end this fight decisively. "Company's coming," Jin-Woo said. 3 more like your father. We need to end this before they arrive or we're finished." "How do we end it? He's not getting tired. He's not slowing down. He's just getting angrier." Mark was bleeding worse now, his healing factor struggling to keep up with accumulated damage. Jin-Woo thought about the architect's warning, about the debt he'd incurred, about doors through death that he'd promised to open on command. He thought about Gina, healthy now, alive because he'd been willing to burn everything to save her, and he made the same choice again because some patterns were stronger than wisdom. "I'm going to do something stupid," Jin-Woo said. "Something that's going to mark me as a threat to every empire in every dimension. When I do it, you fly to Cecil. You tell him what happened here. You tell him the truth about your father. And you tell him that Earth needs to prepare for invasion." "Can you do that? What are you going to do?" "Something I swore I'd only do if there was no other option." Jin-Woo's shadows began pulling inward, condensing, compressing around him like a collapsing star. His power, usually spread across thousands of soldiers, now focused into a single point, into himself. The technique was called Monarch's Authority, the final form he'd achieved fighting the Dragon Monarch, and using it here would advertise his capabilities to every dimensional power watching Earth. But Jinnah was safe. His mission was complete. Everything else was just cleanup. "Go," Jin-Woo said, and Mark went, flying fast toward GDA headquarters, while behind him, Jin-Woo's transformation completed. His body elongated, armored in shadow that looked solid as steel, his eyes burning purple with power that made reality uncomfortable. His presence expanding to fill the space where a man had been standing with something that was monarch, was death, was the inevitable end that came for everything eventually. Omni-Man stopped mid-punch, staring. "What are you?" "Your mistake," Jin-Woo said, his voice echoing with 10,000 shadows speaking in unison. "You should have let me save my sister and leave. Should have let me fade back to my dimension with my samples and my gratitude. But you pushed. You tried to control me. And now you get to learn what happens when death decides to stop asking permission." The 3 Viltrumite reinforcements arrived through their portals just in time to see the Shadow Monarch move. The Shadow Monarch moved through space like smoke through a screen door. Present, absent, impossibly fast, his form shifting between solid matter and pure darkness. The 3 Viltrumite reinforcements came at him with the confidence of beings who'd never met resistance they couldn't overcome through simple application of force. The first one, a woman with gray streaks in her hair and scars that suggested centuries of combat, swung at where Jin-Woo had been. Her fist destroyed a city block. Jin-Woo reformed behind her, his blade opening her spine before she could turn. She screamed, not in pain, but in shock. Viltrumites didn't get hurt by conventional weapons, didn't bleed from simple cuts. But Jin-Woo's blade wasn't conventional, and his cuts weren't simple. They carried the fundamental authority of endings, of cessation, of the simple truth that everything dies eventually. The second Viltrumite, younger and faster, learned from his companion's mistake. He didn't aim where Jin-Woo was, but where he would be, calculating trajectory based on previous movements. Smart play would have worked against most enemies. Jin-Woo simply stopped obeying physics, his shadow form allowing him to change direction mid-movement, to exist in 2 places simultaneously for the half-second it took to drive his blade through the Viltrumite's eye. The scream this time was pain. Real, visceral, the sound of something ancient encountering its mortality for the first time in millennia. Omni-Man watched his reinforcements fall with an expression that cycled through disbelief, rage, and finally calculation. The third Viltrumite, the largest of them, stopped his charge and flew back to Nolan's side. "What is that thing?" the large Viltrumite asked, his voice carrying genuine fear poorly disguised as tactical assessment. "Something that shouldn't exist," Omni-Man said. "A dimensional entity with authority over death itself. The Empire's intelligence never mentioned anyone like this operating on Earth. Because I wasn't operating. I was researching." Jin-Woo's form condensed back to human shape, though his eyes still burned with purple light and shadows coiled around him like living armor. "I wanted to save my sister and leave, that's all. But you couldn't allow it. Couldn't allow someone in your territory who didn't fear you. Couldn't allow the possibility that Mark might learn there are things stronger than Viltrumite pride. Mark doesn't need to learn that lesson from you," Omni-Man said. "He needs to learn it from his own people. From the Empire that will give him purpose beyond protecting ungrateful humans." "He already has purpose," Jin-Woo said. "He chose it when he stood against you. That's more meaningful than anything your Empire offers." The 2 wounded Viltrumites were retreating through their portals, their injuries too severe for continued combat. The large one remained beside Omni-Man, clearly calculating whether loyalty was worth dying over. Jin-Woo could see the moment he decided it wasn't. The Viltrumite flew backward, putting distance between himself and the fight, his body language screaming retreat. That left Omni-Man alone. "You think you've won," Omni-Man said. "You think hurting a few Viltrumites makes you a threat to the Empire. But you don't understand scale, don't understand what's coming. The Empire has thousands like me, thousands stronger than me. And when they arrive, when they see what you've done here, they won't negotiate. They won't hesitate. They'll sterilize this planet and everyone on it." "Then let them come," Jin-Woo said. "I'll be waiting." "You won't be here. You'll run back to your dimension, protect your sister, and leave Earth to burn. That's what people like you do. Fight for personal stakes and abandon the larger war when it becomes inconvenient." Jin-Woo thought about that, thought about Jinnah, healthy now, waiting for him in Seoul. Thought about Mark, bleeding and broken, but still believing in heroism. Thought about Cecil's pragmatism and the GDA's desperation and the simple fact that Earth had no chance against a Viltrumite invasion without help. "You're right," Jin-Woo said. "I came here for personal reasons. I fought for my sister, not for your planet, and now that she's saved, I should leave, should take my research and go home and let you people sort out your own problems." He let his monarch form recede, became human again, his shadows dissolving into mist. But Mark asked me something once, asked what I'd do when I had no family left to protect, what purpose looks like when personal stakes are resolved. "And what did you tell him?" "I didn't, because I didn't know." Jin-Woo looked at the devastation around them, at the city burning, at the people hiding in buildings waiting to see if their world would survive. "But I think I figured it out. Purpose isn't about having something to protect. It's about choosing what matters when nothing forces you to care. And you're choosing Earth, a planet you've known for a week, people who mean nothing to you?" "No, I'm choosing Mark, because he reminds me of who I was before power made caring optional, and because someone needs to show him that fathers can be wrong, that legacy is a choice, and that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stand against the people who made you." Omni-Man's expression hardened. "Then you're choosing to die." "Maybe. But you're choosing to kill your son's faith in you, to prove that every doubt he ever had was justified, to become exactly the monster he's terrified you might be." Jin-Woo opened a shadow portal. "I'm leaving now. Going to check on my sister. Make sure the cure is holding. Spend a few days pretending I'm still human. When I come back, I'm standing with Mark against the Empire, against you, against anyone who thinks conquest is preferable to coexistence. You can't beat us all. Probably not, but I can make you work for it. Can make the Empire bleed enough that they question whether Earth is worth the cost. Can give humanity time to prepare, to evacuate, to survive what's coming." Jin-Woo stepped halfway through the portal, then paused. "Tell Mark I'll be back in 3 days. Tell him to rest, heal, and find allies who believe what he believes. Tell him the Shadow Monarch doesn't abandon people who remind him why he became strong in the first place. I'll tell him his mentor is a fool who chose the wrong side. You'll tell him whatever helps you sleep at night." Jin-Woo vanished into shadow. The portal closed. Omni-Man floated alone in the ruins, his white suit stained with blood. Some his, most from others, his expression showing nothing. Then his communicator activated. The Empire's voice, cold and absolute. "Omni-Man, situation report. Why have 3 agents returned with critical injuries? Why has Earth's pacification timeline been compromised?" "Unknown dimensional entity," Omni-Man said. "Hostile, powerful, claims authority over death itself. He's allied with my son against the Empire's interests. Eliminate him." "Attempted. Failed. He's too mobile, too unpredictable. Conventional Viltrumite tactics are ineffective." "Silence, then." "Understood. We're accelerating the invasion timetable. Full conquest fleet arrives in 6 months. Your orders are to prepare Earth for maximum resistance reduction, kill anyone strong enough to matter. Starting with her son if necessary." The communicator died. Omni-Man looked at his hands, at the blood on them, at the choice he'd just been given. Then he flew toward home, where Debbie was waiting with questions he could no longer answer, where Mark would eventually return with betrayal in his eyes, where everything he'd built over 20 years was collapsing because one man with shadows and a dying sister had refused to be controlled. In Seoul, Jin-Woo materialized beside Jinna's bed. She was sleeping peacefully, her vitals strong, her face free of pain for the first time in months. He sat down, took her hand, and let himself be human for a few hours. The war was coming. The Empire was coming, and the Shadow Monarch had chosen his side. 6 months passed like a held breath before an explosion. Jin-Woo spent the first week in Seoul watching Jinna's recovery with the careful attention of someone who'd learned that miracles required maintenance. The dimensional stabilization treatment held. Her cells adapted. The doctors called it unprecedented. Jinna called it her brother being stubborn enough to punch physics in the face until it apologized. She returned to school, restarted her medical degree, and started planning a future that had seemed impossible 3 months ago. Every night she texted him the same thing. "Still alive, Oppa. Still grateful. Now go save your new friends." So he did. Jin-Woo returned to Earth, not as a desperate researcher, but as something else. A guardian who'd chosen his post. A monarch who'd found a kingdom worth defending despite having no obligation to defend it. He found Mark in a GDA safe house. The boy's face harder than it had been, his eyes carrying the weight of patricide he hadn't yet committed. They trained together in pocket dimensions Jin-Woo created, spaces where Mark could learn to fight his father without destroying cities. The boy was stronger than he knew, faster than he believed, and far more dangerous than his gentle nature suggested. "I don't want to kill him," Mark admitted one night after a training session that had left them both bloody. "I know what he is, know what he's done. But he's still my dad. Still the person who taught me to fly, who made pancakes on Sundays, who told me being a hero meant protecting people who couldn't protect themselves." "Then don't kill him," Jin-Woo said. "Beat him, stop him, make him understand that his son is strong enough to stand against everything he represents. Sometimes that hurts worse than death." Mark looked at him with something between hope and despair. "You think I can actually do it? Actually beat a Viltrumite with thousands of years of combat experience? I think you already beat him the moment you chose to fight him." Jin-Woo stood, stretched, his shadows healing his training wounds automatically. "Power isn't what decides these fights, Mark. Will is. And your will to protect is stronger than his will to conquer. That's not sentiment. That's mathematics." Cecil called them 3 weeks before the invasion. His voice carried the exhausted certainty of a man who'd made peace with impossible odds. "The Empire's coming. Multiple fleets. Enough Viltrumites to level every major city simultaneously. The coalition of planets is offering asylum to anyone willing to evacuate. Most governments are accepting. What about you two?" "We stay," Mark said immediately. "We fight," Jin-Woo added. "Of course you do." Cecil sighed. "Then let's make sure we hurt them badly enough that they remember Earth as the planet that made the Empire bleed." They gathered allies. What few existed. The remaining superheroes who'd survived the Guardians' massacre, the GDA's Experimental Weapons Division, the Korean Hunters Association, who sent their S-rank hunters as payment for Jin-Woo's years of service. Even the architect appeared, manifesting from shadow with a smile that suggested they'd known this moment was coming. "Your debt," the architect said, "will be collected after the battle. Win or lose, You owe me one door through death. But first, let me help you make these conquerors understand that some worlds bite back. The architect gave Jin-Woo something, a technique, an authority enhancement, a way to extend his shadow army across an entire planet simultaneously. The cost was steep. The risk was astronomical. Using it would announce his existence to every dimensional power watching this sector of space. Jin-Woo used it anyway. When the Viltrumite invasion fleet arrived, when 300 warriors descended on Earth expecting easy conquest, they found a planet defended by shadows, 10 million soldiers rising from every dark space, every alley, every shadow cast by sunlight or starlight. An army that couldn't be killed because death was its creator, couldn't be tired because exhaustion was a mortal concern, couldn't be intimidated because fear required the capacity for ending. The Viltrumites learned what Jin-Woo had learned in the double dungeon. Sometimes the only way out is through, and sometimes through costs everything you thought made you invincible. Mark fought his father above the ruins of Washington, their battle visible from orbit, two figures silhouetted against the sun exchanging blows that rewrote geography. Omni-Man was stronger, faster, more experienced. But Mark was fighting for something beyond duty or empire. He was fighting to prove that love wasn't weakness, that choosing compassion over conquest wasn't cowardice, that sons could be better than their fathers. The fight lasted 17 hours. Mark won, not by killing Omni-Man, but by breaking him, beating him so badly, so completely, that the ancient warrior finally understood his son had surpassed him in every way that mattered. Omni-Man fled into space, retreating to the Empire with injuries that would take months to heal and shame that would last forever. The invasion ended not with Earth's defeat, but with the Empire's strategic withdrawal. Too many casualties, too much resistance. A planet that should have fallen in days had lasted weeks and cost them hundreds of warriors. The Empire retreated to recalculate, to plan new approaches, to decide if Earth was worth the continued investment. Jin-Woo stood in the ruins with Mark beside him, both of them exhausted, bloody, alive. The boy looked at the devastation, cities leveled, millions evacuated, a planet scarred but surviving, and asked the question Jin-Woo had been waiting for. Was it worth it, all this destruction? All this death? Could we have handled it differently? Yes, Jin-Woo said honestly, and no. We could have surrendered, could have evacuated everyone, could have let the Empire take Earth without resistance. That would have saved infrastructure, saved resources, saved the immediate suffering, but it would have taught the Empire that humans don't fight back, that conquest is clean, that violence works without consequence. And now they know Earth bites, know humanity breeds things that can hurt Viltrumites, know that some planets are more expensive than they're worth. Jin-Woo put a hand on Mark's shoulder. Your father wanted to teach you that strength means domination. Instead, you taught the Empire that strength means standing up even when surrender is easier. That's the lesson that saves worlds, Mark. Not the power to conquer. The will to resist. Mark nodded, too tired for words, and flew home to his mother who'd waited through 17 hours of not knowing if her son would return. Jin-Woo opened a portal to Seoul, to Jenna, who was probably awake despite the time difference, probably tracking news reports about dimensional entities fighting alien invaders, probably ready to lecture him about taking unnecessary risks. Shadow Monarch, the architect said, appearing beside him. Your debt, The door through death. I'm ready to collect. Where and when? Not yet, but soon. I'll call when I need it. The architect smiled. You did well here. Chose correctly, saved your sister without losing yourself entirely. That's rarer than you think. I lost pieces, Jin-Woo said. Made compromises. Became something my father wouldn't recognize. Your father would be proud. He sacrificed his health for his family. You sacrificed your innocence for yours. Different costs, same love. The architect dissolved into nothing, leaving Jin-Woo alone with his thoughts and his shadows and his choices. He stepped through the portal. Jinna was waiting, exactly as predicted. Her laptop showing news footage of shadow armies fighting invaders, her face showing relief and exasperation in equal measure. Oppa, you look terrible. Again. Do you actively try to come home looking like death, or is it just natural talent? Natural talent, Jin-Woo said, sitting beside her. How are you feeling? Healthy, alive, grateful. Annoyed that my brother keeps fighting wars in other dimensions instead of visiting more often. She closed her laptop, studied his face, but proud too. That boy you mentioned, Mark, he sent me a message. Said to tell you thank you for teaching him what strength actually means. Said you saved more than just Earth today. Jin-Woo felt something warm and unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not satisfaction, not pride. Something closer to peace. The knowledge that purpose existed beyond personal stakes. That choosing to care when nothing forced you to care was its own kind of strength. I'm staying home for a while, Jin-Woo said. Earth can handle its own problems for now. I've got a sister who needs help studying for medical boards and a reputation as a scary monster to maintain. You're terrible at being scary when you're trying not to cry. I'm not crying. This is tactical moisture distribution. Jinna laughed. The sound everything Jin-Woo had burned his humanity to preserve, and pulled him into a hug that felt like coming home after years of war. Outside, Seoul's lights glittered against the night sky. In another dimension, Mark Grayson was learning to be a hero without his father's shadow hanging over him. Somewhere in space, the Viltrumite Empire was recalculating the cost of conquest, and in Seoul, the Shadow Monarch, the man who'd started this journey, desperate and alone, sat with his sister and remembered what he'd been fighting for all along. Family, choice, the simple truth that some things were worth burning the world to protect. The multiverse never sleeps. More crossovers await. But for now, for this moment, Jin-Woo was exactly where he needed to be. The multiverse never sleeps. More crossovers await.